and welcome to Journeys and Journals. I'm Bernie Martin Beck, and I get to do the most fun TV interviews with people whose history has spanned generations. Today's guests are even more special because the very first show that I did, the first week that I did 2 shows, my guests were the nations, and the nations are back again. And I want you to meet each one of them. And you are?
Eula, Martha,
Millie,
Olen.
And Olen, you are the eldest of this bunch?
That's correct.
This bunch of how many?
Well, there was Hugo and Ruth and Ed, Raymond, Edith, and Olen, Eula, Leon, Stanley, Millie. Oh, and I left Alice out. Martha, Jim, Bob, Wayne, Mike.
Yes.
Did I get everyone?
yes.
Oh, bravo, you get an A in school.
In 1967, we all met together and had that picture taken. First time we had all been together
Ever.
And
All at the same time.
Courier, whoever it was, came out, took our picture. It was in the paper, and it titled, "Many Nations Gather."
Well, now, how was it that you had 2 kids that are so much older?
My father was married to a lady who died with the flu, and when the flu epidemic, 1919 or something like that. Anyway, he married again. He married my mother.
That's a part that I like very much, because we're talking about these 2 people.
And
How old was he, father of 2 children, when they got married?
I think he was about 34 maybe.
And she was how old?
16,
Not
I think,
quite
17.
17.
And she became instant mother
Yes,
of 2
2.
little orphan or motherless kids.
Right.
Well, obviously they didn't stop with the 2. How many total, Eula?
I think there were 16 altogether.
Mom had 14 children.
Yeah.
And then the 2.
Yes.
Because there are stories about this older girl had some chores.
We all did, but
How about this mothering?
well, I did have a number below me, all right.
And every time there was a new baby?
I got to do diapers again.
How did you do Oh, Olen, tell us about diapers.
Mom depended on those of us who were a little older to do the diapers for the younger ones. And I've done many diaper runs.
Okay, did you hold it that way?
No.
Now he plays it.
What's this play in music with a washboard?
Well, Mom did that.
Yeah. She did.
When you were way back when?
Oh, I would go back to the 30s when,
And you played what music?
well, I played the harmonica and the fiddle.
And Mom, your real,
Well, she could-
this real washboard?
She'd do rhythm.
Yeah,
She loved rhythm.
she'd keep timing.
She played with
She played
spoons.
spoons. She did the spoons, you know. how
And
they
pots
used to
and
do
pans.
Pots and
She
Pots and pans, not this one.
Yep. Yeah, she
What's
could
the
play
story about this pot?
That. Well, that was our family dinner pot.
bean pot.
Well,
And
it looks brand new to me.
well, it's just because it's used a lot. We
Supposed to
scrub
last
it a lot.
forever.
It's supposed to
It's
last
wherever.
forever?
It's about
Permanent
50
wear.
years old. Or,
How old?
well, 50 or 60 years old. Yeah.
At least, yeah.
I cooked in it as a teenager at home.
Well, what do you remember? I mean, how many beans could you cook in here? For how
As
many?
many as it would take to fill it to the top.
To the top.
And Where'd you cook it?
Well, we had sometimes a wood stove, but we had electric stove too.
What about when you lived in Arizona? Do you have a stove in Arizona, Olen?
Yes, the stove we had was a wood stove, and we had it outside because in the summertime, it'd get pretty hot in Buckeye, Arizona. And so Mom would go out there and cook the beans, and that pot was, we'd have to limit ourselves to how much to take because the pot was rather small for the amount of mouths to feed.
That's right. But what did Mom eat?
What might be left in it. Sometimes she was scraping the bottom of it.
She wanted to make sure her children had their share first.
That's the story that stuck with me.
Mm-hmm.
The very first TV show that I did, that first day, their mother was here.
Yes.
And she was very, very special to me. Mm-hmm. I'd known the Nations family since I was in first grade or second. Mm-hmm. And where'd you live back then?
When this was taken?
No, when you first came to Southern Oregon. You lived out in the country.
Yeah, we lived in Glendale.
Jump off Joe Creek in Glendale.
Glendale
and
came
then
later.
O'Brien.
I remember Glendale especially because that's where I got to ride the train.
Oh, what's this train story?
Well, I like to go to Sabbath school and church with my older brothers and sisters, and they would take me in the morning and take me down to Sabbath school and church, and then in the afternoon I was too little to hang around with them, so they'd put me on the train, and I'd ride the train back up to Glendale, and Dad would pick me up in our Model T.
Ooh, it's kind of scary.
It was really scary the first time. I was very scared, but after that it was okay.
So what is O'Brien about? Who lived in O'Brien?
I lived in O'Brien. I did. Met my husband in O'Brien.
Daddy had a sawmill.
We'll soon have our 60th anniversary, so that was a long time ago.
Yes.
It really worked. And Olen, how many years for you and your wife, Mary?
How many years have we been married?
Yeah.
Would be 58.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
We got married late. I was called an old bachelor before we got married.
You were an old bachelor.
I didn't think he was ever going to get married.
Say that.
One thing I was going to mention about Mom, I think the reason she died so early, because she had so many children. She had 16 children, and she didn't quite live to be 102.
102. Do you remember the last show we did with your mom? Yes. She was already in the retirement home. Mm-hmm. And Dennis, our friend who's been with me every TV show I've ever done, 15 years now.
Yeah, long time.
Picked up the microphone and the recording and the whole thing and came to her senior residence.
Yeah, I remember that.
And with 4 girls.
Yes.
Who's missing today?
Edie. Mm-hmm.
Where's Edie live?
And she lives in Petaluma now.
Petaluma.
Yeah,
Just moved to Petaluma from Napa.
Well, I'm just thrilled every time. Now, Olen, I think you were on a show with 5 generations of your clan one time. There's a bunch of nations. Have you ever counted them all?
Yes.
We know them. We've had a
we
family
don't know
reunion.
all of them.
We've had a family reunion every year since when? 57?
57 years.
We missed one of them. But we just had a family reunion a couple weeks ago at Stanton Park, the other side of Canyonville. And anyway, we enjoy getting together, as many of us can. There's always some that aren't there, but we try to keep it going as long as we can. We hope the younger generation will carry it on.
Great. What about our new cousins?
Yeah.
Yes, we met
Some first time.
cousins, third removed, something like that.
Yeah.
Where are these folk from?
Missouri and Ohio.
They came out for it.
Just
For your
for
party.
the reunion,
Yes.
they did, and it was great.
Is their name Nations?
No,
Their moms.
they come down on my mom's Richardson side.
Yes.
Oh, what fun. Well,
They were a lot of fun.
Yes,
They were.
nice.
They were.
I want to show off a couple of pictures here that are just, and this reminded me so much of today. And somebody be the spokesman and tell me what this picture's all about.
Millie?
Well, I think that one on
see
the
my
right
grandpa
is
there.
Grandpa.
This one's Grandpa.
This is my dad's father.
George Washington Nation.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. This is one of the cutest pictures, and that had the flag right in the center. So I thought,
Yes.
oh, we've got to talk about that. What about George Washington?
Which one is that?
Oh, this is Henry Quinn,
Yeah,
father of.
They called him Wash. The ones that were acquainted with him, well acquainted with him, his name was Wash. And he named his children, his second family, they had 5 or 6 in the family, and one of them's name was Daniel Webster Nations, one was Julius Caesar Nations, and I can't, Jewel.
he had great promise for his kids.
And George Washington, huh? Oh,
Yeah.
Isn't that precious?
tell me about that
That's
picture.
Mom and Dad.
Well, I don't know a lot about it because none of us were. I don't know if that's right after they were married or what.
And this is at 55 years? Hey, wow. What is this importance of the brooch that you are wearing? This is such a beautiful piece.
It is. It's a beautiful piece. It was all of us kids contributed to having my brother, who was working for a jeweler's, where they melted down the gold and silver and stuff, and made jewelry. Well, my brother bought stuff at sales and things like that, and he would take it to the smelters.
That was Tom.
Well, this was it was Tom, my younger brother Tom, who we know as Wayne, but now he's going by Tom. Anyway, he saw this piece and he thought, boy, that would be beautiful. And then he found this green garnet, and so we all went together and contributed to having it remade and done like it is now.
For Mom.
And for Mom, because Mom's birthday's in January, and so we gave it to her for her birthday. And garnet, of course, is her birthstone. And so then after she passed away, Millie called me and said, is there anything of Mom's that you'd like to have? And I said, only one thing. I would like her brooch. And I said, I'll pay each one whatever they contributed. I would pay you because I don't want it going out of the family, and I'm the only one of the sisters that would wear it that has a January birthday.
Of course.
So my next birthday, nothing was said, nothing more. I figured Millie was telling all them ones to find out how much I owed them. And on my birthday, I got it as a gift from my siblings.
Oh, that is such a lovely story.
Yes.
Were there other things? Who got the kettle? Who got this precious kettle?
I did. That was important to me.
That was outweighed the garnet.
I cooked in it, and it was my mom's pot.
What did you ask for, Eula? You didn't want the house car, huh? Oh, what's the name of that?
Where is the house
Need they
car?
all
One thing that Millie did for the boys, because they weren't here to go through her things and a woman's things, you don't think of the boys too much about that, but she made the cutest little
Poems,
poems
wasn't it?
along with the pan, the kettle, and so that it could hang on the wall with things on it, to decorate it so that the boys could just hang it on the wall and have a pan of Mom's. I thought it was really neat.
Yeah, it was nice. They ate out of them, so they deserved a pan.
Yeah.
Different kinds of pans.
She had a whole set of
skillets and
these, a
little
big set.
saucepans and
Skillets.
Well, what did you get, Olen?
I don't know what I got. I probably got some kind of tool. My dad taught me a lot of things I still remember. The framing square has a lot of information on it. How to cut the valley rafters and the hip rafters and so on. It's all on the framing square. And he also taught me the 3-4-5 principle. You know what that is?
No.
How to square up a building. If you go down the side 3 feet, come out this way 4 feet, to be square, it has to be 5 feet across. 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 10 to square up a building. And I still remember that.
Well, now you went to school to him.
Of course, I went to school. Went to vocational school.
He taught.
He taught me
carpentry.
he asked me to go to vocational school, which I did, took carpentry, and it stayed with me ever since.
Now, Olen, I know that you went to college. What about you girls?
I went to college. I became an RN.
Not me.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
Well, I'd been told that it was so important that the boys got education, but the girls, they kind of didn't need it.
It's going to be housewives. Why?
That's the way it was with
I
me.
just wanted that on film.
My mom and dad, neither one said a thing to me when I said I want to quit school when I was a sophomore.
I probably
Neither
wouldn't
one
have.
encouraged me to go to school. Neither one of them.
I probably wouldn't have gone to college if it hadn't been for the GI Bill of Rights. I came back from overseas in World War II, and I got paid all the way through 1 year in academy and 4 years in college, most of the 4 years in college through the GI Bill.
Good.
And I understand you were one of the very few wearing Army clothes to classes at Auburn Academy. Is that right? That's
all
what he
I had.
had. That's what he had. But my stories come down to me because why is that so important? Why is one kettle of food important?
Be careful, honey. It's going to come over there.
Hey,
There
when it's all
was-
you had.
Say it again.
When it's all you had. It's
That's
really
all you
important.
had. Yeah.
We usually had 2 pots.
Did you?
One was
I
a
don't
skillet with fried potatoes,
Oh,
and the
yes,
other was the
that's
pot of
true.
beans.
Yeah.
And
Beans and
biscuits,
potatoes.
maybe.
Yeah.
And you look
Or
pretty
cornbread.
healthy for that kind of limited diet. This is what?
It's a Stanley steamer house
Daddy
car.
built it.
Out of
scratch.
Just
Whatever you
started
see.
from
This is
scratch.
This is wartime?
Yes.
Yes.
After war.
Well,
Because I
we were
remember it
still in the
during the war.
service.
Oh, that's right, because I remember it in Arizona. I remember
where
he
he
worked
built
in a
it.
welding
Pretty
shop.
young, but
In Phoenix. It sat behind our cabin.
16.
And
When you say your cabin,
we were living in the little cabin behind. You can see it kind of
It was
on the
kind of
edge
like an
there.
auto court. Mm-hmm. And we had 2 cabins, didn't we?
I think so. It took 2 cabins for us.
And I remember Dad got a piece of hot welding stuff down his neck, and he came home and he was all burned because he couldn't get it out of his collar.
He took us for a ride in that. I was in it one day.
Yes, I was too.
Yeah,
And
we had a
the
ride.
cattle in the field just came running to the fence to see that thing because it's steam. It was steam.
Yeah, it was coal and
steam.
wood. It could run on coal or wood.
And the thing that I remember most about it was that we got downtown in Phoenix. To me, it was downtown. It was probably suburbs, but there were houses all around. And something happened. Stan wasn't feeding the coal fast enough or something, and he couldn't go any farther. So he pulled over to the curb and parked. And of course, the minute that stopped, us kids jumped out. And this little black lady came out of the house, and she says, Mister, your house is on fire.
Yeah, I think there was some smoke.
Yeah, a lot of
So
smoke.
she thought it was on fire.
there's just so many areas of connectedness with your family. It's just been a delight to know the nations of nations, which of course we always had to kind of say. I've got questions for each one of you. If you could go back, what would you change? I can
My
almost
father's right arm.
Yeah. The only thing that I would think could be improved upon would have been my dad was a little harsh at times.
Okay. I'm sure that there's people in the audience that are saying, yeah, that's the way dads
were.
Say that again.
Generation.
That generation was that way.
That's all they knew.
And in this day and age,
Well,
it wouldn't happen. You still got scars, Olen?
Well, Dad robbed the cradle. You know, he was 16 years older than Mom, and I think he kind of treated her like one of the children.
He did.
And,
but he never laid a hand on her.
He was
could have
good
been-
to her. He loved
it could have
her
been.
very much.
He was pretty rough sometimes.
We,
But with so many children, I think he did pretty well considering.
I do too. I do too.
we knew our parameters, and if we didn't go out of that parameter, we were fine.
Yes.
So,
We knew that when he spoke, we listened. If
when he
said
spanked me, it was usually for going in the irrigation ditch swimming.
That was a no-no?
That's where I got. That's why I got most of my spankings.
Well,
How can you avoid it when it's so hot?
that's it.
where did you get baths? And where did Mom wash clothes? And where did you wash the clothes, I should say?
Out in the yard.
Yeah.
Like how?
Couple of
Hand us the tub. Let's watch her. Let's see how she did it.
there we go. We had tubs where we carried water, heated water and carried water, but now Eula got to do some of the younger children's clothes, but as the older ones moved away, got married, then we became the oldest in the family, and then we scrubbed the little brother's clothes.
Because you got married pretty young.
She was 19.
That's getting
That
pretty
was
old.
Getting old for those days.
You married a younger guy,
Yeah.
huh? Oh, Banny Snell.
Yeah.
Just one of my favorite people. You know, these people, they had enough money to get married
Barely.
and to take the bus to Reno to get married
And hitchhiked home.
and get back to Medford because the ticket was only a round trip from Medford.
Yeah, that's right.
And what'd you eat on your honeymoon?
Chocolates.
What else?
I understand that Ben had bought a box of chocolates, so he didn't have enough money to get from Medford to Grants Pass, so they had to hitchhike.
We fed the driver chocolates.
Oh, did you?
To keep him awake.
Keep him awake.
Funny stories. I love it. How about more funny stories? Oh, I know that, you know, life has not been easy or a bed of roses, but you have incredible resilience. And what you have accomplished in this world, I just want to hand you a trophy, each one of you, a kudos, applaud you. Between this group, there are a few children that have been born, and you had how many?
2.
And you had
3.
2, 4.
Nobody followed after Mom and Dad.
No.
4 was the
Not
most.
after that.
You know, I do want to say one thing. Even though it was hardships, and I had a lot of brothers and sisters, I enjoyed having that big of a family.
Me too.
3 of us are born on the same day, years apart. Myself and 2 brothers, and we shared the birthday cake, and you know, we didn't feel like we were neglected at all.
And happy birthday.
Yes.
And happy birthday to Better Life TV, which is now celebrating 20 years.
Isn't that amazing?
And we're going to have a party.
Yes.
By the way, my mother really liked Better Life TV.
Oh, yes.
She just really
she
enjoyed
did.
it till the day she died.
Yes.
Okay, and Olen, what's your connection with Better Life?
I've been on the board ever since it began.
Oh, I love that. I love that. You had, not everybody agreed with you that it was a good idea to bring TV to Southern Oregon. That was an impossibility, right? Christian TV. Nobody'd heard of such a thing.
It was a dream of Wagner, Delmer Wagner, and he approached different ones, including me, if we would like to be on the board.
And you said,
okay.
Did you think it could happen?
Well, I just thought we needed a few cheap cameras, you know, and wouldn't be very much expense.
Building at the school at a
We
spare.
had a studio there at the school until they needed the school, and they hinted very strongly that they'd like to have that room. So we had an agreement with the church that we could build a studio here.
A little studio
A
here.
little studio.
And then what happened?
Well, I was going to say, I used to go on Sabbath mornings because Ben was one of the first ones to help out. And he would turn the TV on to get Loma Linda University Church. I remember that much about his. And then I think the flowers that they display on one part of the TV were what he had taken.
Oh, wow. Everybody contributed to what you're watching right now. It's a miracle. And we are now at 20 years, 3ABN's 25, Journeys and Journals is 15, and I just learned that our managers of this station have been here for 10 years. So happy birthday to all of us. And Olen, I just wanted to thank you again for serving our country. You were a medic in World War II, is that right?
I trained to be a medic, but it worked out that I was a clerk typist. But anyway, I was attached to the old Army Air Corps in Guadalcanal.
And that's a whole nother story that he's done on Better Life TV. Well, I brought my hat just to, I don't know about you girls, but if you wore hats when you did field work, but you've been the hardest working girls. And Mom, you were working right next to Mom, right?
Mom and Dad.
Mostly Dad,
Mostly Dad.
because Mom was busy with the children at home.
Dad and older brothers and sisters.
And you worked hard every day of your life, right?
Yep,
Yeah.
we did.
You know, and Dad set the example.
Yeah, he was a hard
He would get up early and say,
always.
okay, Ed, Olen, Stanley, Leon, you're no longer a butterfly, you're no longer a cocoon, you're a butterfly. Up and at 'em.
I'm Bernie Martin Beck saying thank you, everyone. Olen, that was a lovely story.
Yes.
See you soon. Bye-bye.